Good morning, everybody. So it took me just a moment because I had to readjust something with our camera. But we are on and rolling. If you guys will please go ahead and start sharing. You can also go ahead and start tagging. Let me put this banner up for y'all, and we will get rolling. All right. I think we are good to go now. So, like I said, if you guys want to go ahead and start sharing, you can also go ahead and start tagging your friends in the comments to let them know that we are on. Um, and you can also start tapping in the title as well. I will give out a few announcements. Good morning, everybody. Y'all just get me today. So, good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Also, if you are new, first of all, let us know that you're new so we can welcome you in. And second of all, let us know where you are watching from. Good morning, you guys. YouTube was ready. Facebook's moving a little slow. YouTube was ready. They're jumping on. All right, so I will do this. Let me do it again later, but let me do this now before I forget because we do have a couple of announcements. Esther, good morning. She is new and watching from Montana. And as always, whatever platform you guys are on, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, if you guys see someone new, especially because we don't always catch every single comment. Like right now, we're trying to catch them all. But sometimes we miss. So those of you who are watching with us and who are in the comments, make sure you help us in welcoming people in. So I do want to do this at the beginning just so I don't forget. But as a reminder, Mom will be on a prophetic virtual, or I think it's virtual prophetic boot camp. It is a 2-day event, February 27th and 28th. She will be ministering the 28th for the 10 a.m. Session. Obviously, when you register for that, you get access to all of it. But just for those of you who are looking for that, she will be on the 28th, the 10 a.m. session. Now, there is a registration for that, as she is just a speaker. She is not the host. There's a registration for that. I believe it is $25 for the 2 days. It is hosted by Apostle Carlton Sidnor. And as always, we do have those flyers circulating, and you can get all of the information there. It has a QR code as well as the link to sign up. I'm not even sure. They may be using something like Zoom. They haven't, or you know what? I think it's Google. Miss Aitha may know what this is called. Google something. It's like a video streaming platform. So it's not something we can share. So it won't be on Facebook or Instagram. It won't be on YouTube. It is just they will send out the links for that after your registration. Okay. Google Meet. Okay, that's what Mom said. It's Google Meet. I'm not super familiar with that, but I do think it is something similar to like using Zoom or whatever. And keep in mind, if you have a Gmail account, you already have access to anything that's under Google. So if you have a Gmail email, you have a YouTube account, you have all the like Google documents, all of that is all the same login. Okay, so I'll try to remember to mention that at the end as well, but I just wanted to do that now so I don't get sidetracked and forget or miss that. I don't believe we have any other announcements other than that, but okay, so it is. I don't listen. Miss Aids, she'd be dealing with some of these other stuff, especially with um, her line of work. So I kind of rely on some of y'all who have more, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess more, anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. You've experienced some of that other stuff more. We stick with what we know and what we use. So good morning to everyone again. Thank you to those of you who are sharing and tagging. As always, we do appreciate it. One new thing I will say for Instagram, I try to, when I find out some of these new little things for our different online stuff that you can participate in, I try to remember to announce it. But if you are on Instagram, okay, you can now repost people's stories to your own story. So when we share like flyers to the stories, or when we share maybe like a post into the stories that's like a quote and things like that, and you want to share it to your story, you can do that. It should have a option down at like the bottom that looks like a, you know how Instagram shares, it looks like the little arrow pointing up. When you click that, it'll say add to story. So you can now add other people's stories to your story. So that's a great way for those of you who like to like repost the quotes, or you like to help share flyers and things like that when we post them. That is a great way to do that, to help us get it out to more people. Because as I've told y'all for the longest time, people will sit there and watch right through those stories before they will ever scroll through the actual news feed. So that is a great way to help us get information out, or even just like words when we put quotes and things like that. That is a great way to spread that out to more people. Okay. So I think that's all the things I need to say for this morning. I'm going to try to move on from there. And again, good morning to everyone who is commenting and letting us know that you're on. Welcome, Arkansas. I know, like I said, we have one newcomer from Montana. And again, if you are new, let us know that you are, and let us know where you're watching from, because it gives us, a heads up to welcome some more of our new followers in. I know these reels have really been drawing a lot of a new audience, so we try to be a little more personal and actually interact with you guys. So for today's title, I did it as I don't need all the details. So welcome, Miss Penny from North Carolina. So you guys can start typing that in if you have not already. So again, that title is I don't need all of the details. Can sound a little maybe silly or funny, especially with the different things that we have been ministering on the last, I would say week, but it's really been the last several weeks that it's just been ongoing. Y'all know that the way, I don't even want to say that the way we design it, because it's definitely not the way we design it, but just the way that God flows through this ministry is every time we come on here and minister, it just builds on and builds on further and further. So we've been talking about having trees full of sap. We've been, sorry, y'all, I can't get my throat cleared this morning. We've been talking about those that sow in tears shall reap in joy. We've been talking about mountains to move, mountains to occupy. So when you look at these types of things, the first thing in your humanity is you want a playbook. You want to know what's going on. What do I need to say? What do I need to do? You start looking for all these little details. And the reality is you just don't need it. You don't need the extra. You don't need all the confusion. You don't need all these little things that are going to be necessary 6 months from now, or a year from now, or even 5 years from now. The world tells you you need 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plans, but the reality is we don't operate that way. We operate by the supernatural and leadings and leanings of the Holy Spirit. And yes, we plan. Yes, we have vision, but we don't get so wrapped up in that we can't move according to the Spirit first. We don't get so trapped and so stuck in these ideas. And well, this hasn't happened yet. And it was, we were going to do things this way, and I was going to pay this off in this amount of time. We don't operate that way. We operate 100% by the leading of the Spirit and allowing Him to lead us and guide us and direct us with complete trust in that. So in that, you have to let go of this perception and this concept of, I got to have all these little details. I need to know what's going on. I need to know what's coming up next, because it's just not necessary. It will actually bog you down more. It will cause you to go chasing all these other little things because you're so consumed with trying to follow this line by line, and all of your bullet points. And this can especially be hard for certain personality types, when you talk about people being like type A and type B. Type A can be very detail oriented, can be very, I need to know what's going on, when it's going on. And it takes a lot of trust, and it takes a lot of understanding and being led by the inward leading of the Spirit, not the outside. It's not only about the manifestation. It's not only about what's going out on here, but getting that right manifestation goes by the inward leading first. Now, you will even see this represented biblically. First of all, Jesus didn't go around giving all these people the details. 9 times out of 10, he would give them one instruction, and it was either follow it or don't. That was just kind of it. You follow that instruction, and then the manifestations start coming after that. A great example was even when he tells them, let down your nets. He didn't say, if you let down your nets, then this is going to happen. Oh, and by the way, you need multiple, because one is not going to be enough. And while you're at it, go ahead and send your co-workers, so to speak. That's the word we would use these days in current terms. Send your co-workers out there with their boats and their nets too, because you can't handle this by yourself. No, all he said was go back out there and let down your nets. The details played themselves out following that one leading. Now, I know that wasn't an inward leading, but it was coming from the same source because it was Jesus himself giving an instruction. But you'll even see there was times where when the people came to Jesus, they didn't ask for all the details. When the woman who grabbed him by his garment, she didn't ask him anything at all. She just made her way up there. That was a leading of the faith. I'm acting on faith because I have a drawing. The Spirit is drawing me in this direction. I don't need any more details other than that. She said within herself, if I can just touch him by the hem of his garment, I'll be made whole. I don't need all the details. I don't need this grand scheme to play out for me. And see that we have to follow these same types of patterns. Another great example was when you see the soldier that comes. Okay, I'm going to pull this up. because I want to pull up the actual scripture for that. It is Matthew 8. Somebody can put this in the comments if they want, so other people will have that. Matthew 8, and it starts in verse 8. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I'm not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. What? I need one instruction. I don't need how he's going to be healed. I don't need you to give me all these steps of what all we need. I just need you to send your word. For I'm a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this man, go, and he goeth, and to another, come, and he cometh, and to my servant, do this, and he doeth it. What? That was a passing of authority. All I have to do is send the authority, and they'll deal with it. So I understand that you, being a man of authority greater than I, can do the same thing. I just need one instruction. I don't need all them details. Why? Because it starts putting you over into the soul realm, the mind, the will, the emotions, the thoughts start interfering. You start talking about it too much. You start presenting it too much. Well, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts on this? And I don't care if it's your friends or your family, if they don't have that same confirmation by the Spirit, they can't lead you in that same direction. Their details won't match your details. And we have to get over into this space of, I don't need all the details. I just need one. I just need one leading. I just need one leaning. I just need one thing that's going to send me in the right direction of where I need to go. The details will play out. But me in and of myself, I don't need all that. Someone of faith does not need all of the details to obey. That is you searching for an appeasement of the flesh. And that's not, I get it. That's something and I bring this up a lot, but that's part of that dying to the flesh daily. That's more than just kicking a habit. That's more than just, oh, well, now I found out that this is not a way that we should go according to the Spirit, so now let me deal with this. No, it is this right here of resisting against all that is of nature's flow, resisting against all that is of the mind flow, the soul realm of, I need this, or I have to make sure, or I have to double check, I have to second guess. No, all I needed was the Spirit said, and so I did. You guys can even type that in the comments. All I need is the Spirit said, and so I did. Because someone of faith does not need all of the details to obey. And that's from the most minor of the minor to the grandest of the grand. I was talking to Mom about something, I believe it was yesterday. In case y'all don't realize, ministers, we have stuff that we deal with too. And it's not just this, it's not just our everyday lives, it's a combination of the things. So, we've got some things that we're dealing with in the background, and we were, talking about that between us because it involves both of us. And one of the things that I'd said to her, and I said, I don't mean this in a harsh way or a I told you so type of way, but I said, it seems to be that we just have to say, well, we knew and we understood, and everyone else will find out. But that's really the way things play out by the Spirit. He spoke to you. You knew. You did what you were supposed to do and let everybody else find out. And that's whether it be something good or be something we would say is bad. You knew. You did what you were supposed to do. Despite what anybody else said about it, despite what anybody else thought about it, however they thought you were supposed to deal with this on your side, that doesn't matter. You knew, you went by obedience, and it played out the way that the Spirit expected and intended for it to, based off of your submission of your will to that scenario. And you have to do this by everything. It could be as small as the Spirit says, don't go here today. It could be as small as, you feel like, I just feel like I was supposed to wear this today. And we've given you guys these examples before. I was going to wear something else, but I felt like I ought to wear this instead. And then you get out and about in a store and someone says, oh, I love that top. And then it leads to a conversation. And what? It's a moment of uplifting for them. And it don't matter. You didn't have to say a single thing about Jesus. You didn't have to quote them a scripture. You didn't even have to pray over them. But it was a moment of uplifting. But you got led into that moment because you leaned into the moment of obedience. Of let me do this. Let me go here. Let me wear this instead. But you didn't have all those details when you were standing in your closet trying to decide what shirt you were going to wear. Do you see the difference of I don't need all these details. I just have to follow the leading of the Spirit. I have to stay in the inward place so all the outward places lines up. The details play themselves out. This is something, it's not hard to know the leading of the Spirit. I would say 9 times out of 10, you guys already know. It's just you've been conditioned to look for a confirmation for everything. Now, you may have grand moments where you'll say, Lord, please send me a confirmation. I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing, especially when it comes to making moves, big financial decisions, things like purchasing cars, accepting job offers or partnerships, marriages. We understand. You say, okay, God, I would like a confirmation on this. And he will work with you on that because he knows that you're following the Spirit, but you're making sure you're making the right move. So don't just go, well, every whim that I feel now, I just float along with it. That's not what we're saying here. There will be things like that where God, obviously he's just, he's merciful, he's gracious. He's going to say, okay, I'll give you a confirmation. I know you're trying to make the right move here, make the right decision. You're not trying to be flighty and just run after things. But then there's also stuff where, okay, you get a trigger to sow. You don't need the Lord to confirm it to you 15 times. You know what you felt. It's not a hard thing. You know the voice of the Lord. You in and of yourself, you know the voice of the Lord. And you can say, okay, and do it. Little things, like I said, with don't wear this, wear that. You know the voice of the Lord. Follow it, do it. Because you're at a point where you don't have to be babied through things. You've grown into places where you can handle, this is stuff we would call everyday instruction. You can handle, you need to do this, you need to do that. You don't have to look for, yes, I told you to do that. Yes, you're doing the right thing. Yes, you're making the right move. You don't have to look for someone else giving you gratification that you've made the right move. You know within yourself that the Spirit said, don't deal with this person anymore. You know within yourself that the Spirit said, your time is up here. You know within yourself that the Spirit said, hey, I want you to go over here today. And without all the details, we can move forward into that. And even this, reap the reward that comes with it. Because you're sowing back into the Spirit. It is a perpetual exchange when you get into this place of hearing, obeying, being in a space of understanding where you're just in a perpetual exchange of your indwelling of the Spirit and the Spirit of God constantly communicating with each other. Because He will reward you for your obedience. He will bring a harvest for you sowing your yes. The yes of the seed, the yes of the action, the yes of the word. Every bit of that will bring a harvest back to you. I like this. Let's see if I can pull this up here. Let's see. In 1 Corinthians 12, in verse 7, this is where it talks about, I know we say gifts of the Spirit, but really manifestations of the Spirit. It says, but verse 7, chapter 12, verse 7, but the manifestations of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. Manifestations of the Spirit is also the understanding that you have within yourself. It is not only for the benefit of the Spirit working through you, it's the benefit of the Spirit working to you. He's not just going to use you to manifest for everybody around you, manifest when you go into churches or when you go into stores, impacting other people's lives. But there's also going to be a manifestation of the Spirit working to you. Of this right here. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit. Profit is what? A benefit. Profit is anything over and above. So that lets you know that the need is already taken care of. The basic necessities are taken care of. Profit is over and above. Withal. Well, what does withal mean? Withal is in addition, as a further factor or consideration. It also means at the same time or together. So the manifestations of the Spirit is not just about ministering to the body as an outward flow, but there's also an inward flow given to every man to profit, meaning there's abundance, meaning it wasn't just a giving back of the bare minimum and I've matched it. What you gave in, you got back. No, profit is above. If you understand business, you know this. Profit, I didn't just make my money back. I made a profit. Over and above what I put into it came back to me. Withal, meaning at the same time, together with. Meaning in addition. So we have to have this understanding of, because of the indwelling of the Spirit, I can lean into that the first time. I can lean into that without anything extra. I can lean into that without any confirmation. That in and of itself is its fullness. Now, if that leads me to profit, the obedience to that, to the Spirit, and the acting of by my faith, excuse me, if that leads me to profit, what do we think going against that, or withholding, or second guessing, or questioning? Because see, every bit of that is a realm of disobedience. It's not just I willfully went against. It's, oh, I'm not sure and I second guessed. It's, oh, I went and asked somebody else's opinion when the Lord gave me an instruction to deal with now. So if I argue with the leading, I push back with the leading. Well, if biblically I'm told coming into agreement with it means profit, then going up against it automatically means loss. And see, that's not always, we don't always see what that loss is. Sometimes it's something as simple as loss of finances, loss of time, loss of opportunity. Sometimes it can mean something much grander, though. I have heard, we hear all these different stories from ministers, especially I feel like it's kind of become an art in a good way of, while ministering, sharing these stories and sharing these personal experiences as a way to really relate to the people, as a way to convey messages over to, and help people have a better understanding of. So I think the art of storytelling, which is really used a lot in media, has blended in to ministry, and it's given people more access and more understanding. So we hear all these ministers tell these stories, and one of which is one that I've heard Pastor Nancy Dufresne give multiple times. But she tells of, and oh my goodness, this girl's probably very grown by now, but she tells of this, at the time was a young girl that attended their church. At the time was early 20s, and was going to go to the Super Bowl with her friends. Mind you, they're in California. They were going to drive to, I believe it was in Arizona, was where they were having it. They're going to drive out there to it. They've planned in advance, right? They've done all the right things. They've handled their natural details. They've saved up their money. They've bought their tickets. They've, prepared for gas expense. They've prepared for food expense. They've booked the hotel. They booked the hotels, done all the things, because she was going with a group of friends. The morning of the day they're supposed to be leaving, she gets a check in her spirit, don't go. It didn't give her nothing else. It didn't say, don't go, because if you go, this is going to happen. All she got was, don't go. That was it. Well, her friends come by to pick her up, and she says, I'm sorry, I can't go. Oh, come on, we've already planned this, and we've spent our money, and everything's ready, and, we were going to do this, and it's going to be so fun, and you're going to miss out. I can't go. She didn't know why. This is the morning of. She didn't have time to go chase down 3 prophecies for confirmation. She didn't have time to get a second opinion and have conversations, because even at that, where's that second opinion and that conversation going to lead me? All she had was the one leading of the Spirit. All she had was that one, I know within myself, don't go. Well, she didn't go. And everything was fine on the way there. Everything was fine during the trip. But on the way back, her friends were in an accident where their car was hit, and every single one of them died in that accident. And she comes back and tells her pastor, if I had dismissed, if I had went against, that all I had was don't go. All she had was that one leading of the Spirit. She didn't need all the details. The protection was in that one leading. The protection was in that one leaning. Don't go. So she said, had I ignored that, had I pushed on, I would have been in that car too. Another one I've heard her give, and I get these are extreme versions, but when you have a leading or a leaning of the Spirit, you don't know just how minute or extreme the detail behind that is. All you have is that one. All you have is that one word, and that's all you need. Another one that she's given is someone that she knew was going off on a ski trip. The Spirit told him, don't go. Well, his friend did the same thing. Oh, we've already planned this and we've got all of our stuff and everything's paid for and blah, blah, blah. Let him talk him into it. So he goes on. Well, he's at the top of a big slope, goes down it, going wide open. When he gets almost to the bottom, there's a giant rock and he hits it face first. Completely destroys him. I mean, like ruins his chest, his collarbones, to the point that the doctors were convinced the boy would just die. They had to pray him through. He went through so many surgeries. I mean, you know, had all these pain and complications afterwards. And the boy stands in his own youth group and tells them, I had one word from the Spirit, don't go. And had I listened, I would not be in this situation. I would not have went through all of this. But he got that second opinion. See, Bonnie typed in the comments, she said that happened to my sister one time. She woke up with a terrible feeling and knew not to ride the subway. She drove to work instead. That morning, the very train she would have been on was bombed. And I mean, we hear it in all of these tragic stories. 9/11, there were so many people that said they were supposed to go to work that day. They felt like they weren't supposed to go, or something happened that they were running late, or they got a phone call, or whatever. Vehicle wasn't working. There were so many stories, because you're talking about there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that were involved in that, probably well on into the thousands when you consider. But there was something that stopped them from getting there. What? It was that leading of the Spirit, that leaning of the Spirit. And all it took was that one act of obedience. Because, see, you can't even have the details, because your obedience or disobedience can shift the details. You have the sovereign will, but then you also have, what's the word? There's a certain word I like to use, but almost like a flexible space of things that will be affected based on the submission of your will and the decisions that you make. Okay, how things play out will depend on how you lean into it, how you submit to it, how you choose. So you have to go for every decision that leading and that leaning of the Spirit. And I understand there are times where we second guess ourselves and I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And you say things like, I just wish I could have confirmation. I just wish that there was something, even off of little stuff. I wish the Lord would send somebody to give me an answer or a yes or a no, or you're doing the right thing. But here's the deal. You have to lean on the fact that you serve a loving God. You serve someone who wants the best for you and that understands the heart of what you do. So many people try to say intentions don't matter, but when it comes to stuff like this, they do, because when your intention is, I'm following God to the fullest, I'm trying my best to do exactly what I feel like He is asking me to do and going into the direction that He's sending me into, I know even if I make the wrong choice, He's going to cover me in it, because He knows that in my heart of hearts, I was doing my best to follow Him. I was doing my best to lean into Him. So don't have that pullback and that drawback of wanting just a little bit more. If I could just have a little bit more information, if I could just, if someone could just tell me, or if I could have this, or, if God, if you could tell me a little bit more. Don't let that be something that causes disobedience or even delayed obedience, because I'm grasping for details. You are covered with, even if I made the wrong move, even if I thought I was doing the right thing and it wasn't, that I have a loving God who will cover me and protect me and say, no, you did this with my heart in mind. You did this with my will in mind. You did this with intentions of leaning into the kingdom. I can cover you and protect you in that area. That is the difference. That will always bring you to a place of difference. That will always bring you into a place of, even if you feel like it was a loss in the moment, there will be compensation. There will be recompense. Because you can say, I felt like I knew for a fact in that moment I was following the leading of the Spirit. And even if it was the wrong choice, there will be a covering in that. You have to move forward with that type of assurity that there is really an insurance built in. That's what insurance is there for. Insurance is not, well, I plan to go out and wreck my car. Insurance is not, well, I set my house on fire on purpose. Insurance is not, well, I jumped off the roof and broke my leg just to see what would happen. We know that. We'll apply it to the same way to spiritual matters. You have a kingdom insurance that says, I wasn't planning to wreck my car today, but somebody pulled out in front of me. It's covered. Well, in the same way, I wasn't planning on making the wrong decision. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was sowing into the right place. I thought I was coming into relationship with the right person. There's so many times where people feel like, and I'm talking about Christian people, I'm talking about kingdom people, I thought I was doing the right thing. I had a witness of this. I had an okay of this. But here's the deal. It's not just you. There's other wills involved. There's other intentions involved. There's other actions involved. And if they don't come into alignment with you following the kingdom, then you have kingdom insurance that covers the difference. What do they do first? Who was at fault? How did this happen? How did we get here? And then they start analyzing, how do we deal with this situation? What is the coverage that you get based on that? Well, it's the same way. God looks at you and says, you were doing everything you knew to do to follow me. I'm covering you in this situation. I'm providing, I'm making up the difference. I'm closing in the gap. Thing is with God is you don't need, well, there you go, Miss Cynthia's saying the same thing, gap coverage in the Lord. You don't have to have all these 3, 4, 5 different types of insurance to cover it all. You just got the Lord himself that says, follow me, trust me, lean on me. Again, I don't need all of the details because he already has them. And as long as I'm following, because it's always going to go back to that inward witness, as long as I'm following that inward witness, I don't need the details. They will play themselves out. I'm coming into alignment. I'm coming into agreement with the Spirit. The rest of it will play itself out. Even if people don't agree with you, even if people think that you're making the wrong choice, even if people think that you are making a big deal about something that really ain't nothing, or they think you should be making a bigger deal about something that to you is just minute. You have to lean on that inward witness. I don't need all the details. I don't need to know what somebody's going to say. I don't need to know how somebody's going to respond. I don't need to know how the money's going to come. I don't need to know if the job is going to give me a yes. All I have to know is no. I followed the leading. I followed the Spirit. Even if the results at first don't look like I followed the Spirit, I know I followed the Spirit. And by the end of this thing, when it's all wrapped up, it'll make sense. We've been in situations where we followed the Spirit and things still blew up. And we're going, well, I thought I did what I was supposed to do. But by the time it wrapped up, by the time it all got cleaned up, we knew, oh yeah, we made the right choice. Oh yeah, we went the right direction. Oh yeah, we cut off the right people. So I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to sow. Absolutely, it will make sense. That's nothing. I'm laughing. Saith, she said, God didn't put us on a conference call. And I know that's one of those little silly things we say, but it's the reality. You will have ones who are in partnership and in connection with you that they should come into a place of their witness lines up with your witness. But even if it don't, I've got to lean on, no, I know this is what I was told. No, I know this is the direction I felt like I was supposed to go. No, I know this was the seed I was supposed to sow. Even if all the hell broke loose afterwards, I did what I was supposed to do. So if it has to be that the kingdom cleanup crew comes behind it and sets it all back in place, then so be it. But at first, without getting all the details, without knowing how it was going to play out, at first, I went by the leading of the Spirit. And because I did, I can lean into this of that 1 Corinthians 12 and verse 7. But the manifestation of the Spirit, what is that? the outward experience of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. Because I leaned into it, the manifestation, the outside, has to line up. And it has to line up in a profitable way. So, like I said, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to sow. You can head to janetgermanministries.com. We have the sow a seed page there. That first button says give via Givelify. That's the faith-based service that we have available to you. Following that, it says sow via PayPal. Takes you to paypal.me/JGMIN. After that, we have the buttons for Cash App. $JGerman MIN is for the ministry. $Katie German is my personal. And you guys can designate seeds on all of those platforms using the note or message section that's provided for you. Just make sure you say gift for or personal for. That way we can allocate it where it needs to go. You can mail in your seed to P.O. Box 1011, Bartow, Florida, 33831. And then we also have the email for Zelle available to you on that page as well. Just be reminded we are on Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So Mom will be back on with us tomorrow. She had an appointment today. So y'all just got me for this morning. But she will be back on for us tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Wealth Release Wednesday. So we will see you guys then. We hope you have an amazing day. And I will let you know, we have a reel that we will be releasing. And I know she talked about this. Was it on Friday? I think it was Friday because that was the day. I don't think I was on Friday. May have even been Monday. But anyway, I believe it was Friday that she made the announcement that she was doing the pre-record. So she has that, and we will be uploading and premiering that to YouTube only. So be on the lookout for that. If you haven't already, make sure you go over to YouTube and subscribe. Everything is under Janet German Ministries. Okay. Make it really simple for you to find us all. And like she said, if you have not already, please be sure to hit your share buttons and help us get this out to as many as possible. Share it to your pages, share it to your groups, as long as they don't have regulations. You don't want to put us in buy, sell, trade groups, stuff like that. Share it to your stories. Okay. Y'all have a great day, and we will see you all tomorrow. Bye, y'all.